Right, Honourable Speaker, I'll return to the House in 2 weeks as a protest.
Opposition members of Parliament have on several occasions stormed out of the House for various reasons. In one of the walkouts 3 years ago, the legislators were protesting the continued torture of opposition supporters in the country. And previously, they had walked out over the passing of the Public Order Management Act and the Anti-Terrorism Act. Yesterday, in a repeat of the same, Leader of Opposition Joel Senyonyi led a section of opposition legislators out of the chambers. This time round, they were protesting the planned move by government to pass the Political Parties and Organizations Amendment Bill alongside the UPDF Amendment Bill without adequate consultations and public participation.
They said, no, we are not going to be part of sanitizing a sham process.
But was a walkout the best way to handle such a situation? Sarah Birete, a political analyst and executive director of the Center for Constitutional Governance, argues that walkouts must be evaluated on a case-by-case basis.
I think sometimes boycott works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what majority citizens would have preferred, but if you look at the situation that was obtaining at Parliament, the heavy deployment, all the black vans were there, the stairs of Parliament had the military soldiers in uniform, Parliament was surrounded by plain-clothed men, and if you look at the situation where NUP is coming from, Honorable Shamim Malende hasn't recovered from the beatings of the coffee bill. Maybe this could also have informed their decision.
She, however, says yesterday's walkout was not the best option, maintaining that members of the opposition should have stayed in the House and made their arguments for the records to capture.
It would have been good to have such a record, to say that we have 97 MPs that voted against trial of civilians in military courts. But now we don't have this record. This record would have been good for our constitutionalism and further studies.
Similar sentiments are shared by the Executive Director of the Center for Policy Analysis, Timothy Chimonges.
There was a better way in which they could have handled this. I think opposition needed to be firm, needed to be part of this process and challenge or put their position very clear, so that then the country is able to make a judgment.
The Executive Director of the Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment, Dr. Arthur Bainomigisha, argues that while boycotts all over the world are used as one of the strategies for the opposition to put across certain positions, they must be carried out in a moderate manner.
It's a democratic action that the opposition have used to show that they don't support. But when it is overused, then it becomes a problem. It can be used, but it should also be used in a measured way.
How then do these walkouts benefit the ordinary citizen or voter who sent the legislators to represent them?
So if a boycott is not properly planned as a process of advocacy, it does not have impact. If it's planned with the follow-up activities that really justify boycott, it can make more sense.
When the opposition decides in very strategic times to come back to the people to boycott some of these proceedings, which in their case they think they may not really contribute much, but I think it's a strategy that is still available for the opposition.
Dr. Bainomigisha adds that while the government in power may have majority in Parliament, it should not use its numbers to pass laws, but rather consider fairness and consensus building for the good of society.
Because you can also delete poorly because you have numbers, not done research, not consulted, you have not considered the interest of others. You could use that, could be like a majoritarian kind of tyranny. It is not good in democracy.
With lower numerical strength, the analysts share what can be done by the opposition to cause change or influence processes in passing laws that seem to be controversial.
Like we saw in the removal of age limit, there are NRM MPs that voted against the removal. So this bipartisan lobby should be continuous. Two is when you have fewer numbers, you should make sure that you capitalize on debate to convince the undecided MPs.
Secondly, ensure that they can coalesce and ensure that as the opposition in the first place, you're able to coalesce and get the strength of the opposition first, even before engaging those in the independent and the other side of the ruling government.
Give time, be able to win the support of the ruling party by doing research and providing alternative policy views and ideas that actually could also convince the ruling party.
I'm Benjamin Jumbe, NTV.